The galaxy's most feared conquerors made their first mistake at a campsite called Howler. For millennia, the crystalline Kryll Empire had devoured worlds with clinical precision, reducing civilizations to ash and mineral slurry. Their ships, glittering monuments to arrogance, carried the frozen light of dead stars in their cores. They did not conquer, they curated, pruning the universe of what they deemed unworthy. Earth, with its muddy forests and squabbling nations, was to be another footnote in their archives. But the Kryll had never encountered a species that weaponized curiosity. Scouts, the humans called them, children bundled in synthetic fur, armed with knots and kindling. The Kryll censors dismissed the camp solar mirrors as primitive art, the vinegar stockpiles as pantry staples. They did not account for the tenacity of small things, a rusted pocket knife whittling a branch to a spear, a honey jar trap baited for bears, a 12-year-old's hands steadying a prism to catch the dawn. When the ambush failed, the Kryll commanders studied the battlefield in cold fury. Their crystalline databanks parsed the debris, scorched merit badges, a cracked jar labeled explosive vinegar, do not drink, claw marks from a creature the humans had dubbed Mr. Cuddles. The Galactic Council, upon reviewing the after-action reports, issued a rare unanimous decree: redact all footage, purge all logs, bury the shame. They failed. A single image leaked. A Kryll warship retreating, its hull pocked with acid burns, solar scorch marks, and what appeared to be badger fur. Memes blossomed across the cosmos. Rumors spread of a planet where children fought like veterans and rodents held grudges. By the time Earth's governments realized what had happened, the story had already become legend. And legends, as the Kryll would learn, are harder to kill than gods. Chapter 1. The Rockies wore winter like a burial shroud. Snowdrifts swallowed the valleys whole, and the pines stood black and brittle under a sky, the color of tarnished silver. Hank Briggs felt the cold in his bones. A familiar ache, older than the scar tissue knotting his left shoulder. He'd chosen this place precisely because it bit back. Survival wasn't a merit badge here. It was the price of breathing. Camp Howler crouched in a clearing half a mile from the tree line, its cabins sagging under centuries of storms. The boys called it the graveyard, not out of fear, but reverence. Hank had watched them arrive 3 days prior, their breath pluming in the pre-dawn dark, their parents' headlights retreating down the mountain like dying stars. They were city kids, soft in the way of supermarket bread, but they'd learn, or they'd break. Either way, they'd remember. He stood at the edge of the camp now, thermos in hand, tracking the smoke from the mess hall chimney. The smell of burnt pancakes lingered. Young Tommy's attempt at a cooking badge. Hank hadn't intervened. Let them fail, let them learn the weight of a meal. His gaze drifted to the eastern ridge, where dawn smudged the horizon. Somewhere beyond those peaks, his ex-wife's lawyers were drafting another custody petition. Let them. The mountain would decide who kept Lily. The girl in question emerged from cabin 3, her neon pink parka, a blasphemy against the monochrome wilderness. She moved like him, shoulders forward, steps silent even in fresh powder. 12 years old and already a ghost. She'd refused to speak to him since the drop-off, communicating instead through glares, and the occasional hissed, "I hate you," when the others weren't looking. Hank understood. Hate was a compass, it kept you moving. Scout leader, a voice cracked across the clearing. Benny Wu, all elbows and asthma, skidded to a halt beside him. The latrine's frozen again. Hank sipped his coffee, black, bitter, brewed over last night's embers. And we can't, you know. Benny's cheeks flushed. Dig a new one. But the grounds, use the geology kit. Page 42. The boy blinked, then scurried off, shouting for a pickaxe. Hank allowed himself a grim smile. Let them curse his name. Better than pity. He turned toward the armory shed, boots crunching through ice-crusted snow. The shed's padlock clicked open with a sound like a rifle bolt sliding home. Inside, survival manuals shared shelves with bear traps, and a Remington 700 he hadn't fired in 8 years. His fingers brushed the rifle's stock, cold, smooth, familiar as sin. The desert heat rushed back for a moment, the coppery stink of blood mixing with cordite, the way Private Alvarez's head had. No, he slammed the mental door. The mountain air tasted of pine resin and impending frost, real, present. A shadow flickered at the shed's entrance. Lily stood framed in daylight, her arms crossed. "You're teaching them to die," she said. Hank didn't turn. "I'm teaching them to live, by making them sleep in snow, by making them think." He finally faced her. Her mother's eyes stared back, hazel flecked with gold, sharp enough to flay a man. "Out here, stupid, gets you killed. Out here's nowhere." She kicked the door jamb. "Mom says you're hiding." The words hung between them, brittle as icicles. Hank studied the horizon. The first true rays of sunlight speared through the clouds, painting the snow in hues of liquid mercury. Beautiful, lethal. "Sunrise in 10 minutes, he said. "Get the astronomy patrol prepping their mirrors." Lily spat a word that would have earned any scout a week of latrine duty, but she went. The thing about glaciers, Hank thought as he climbed the observation bluff, was their indifference. They carved valleys not out of malice, but mere existence. The Kryll arrived the same way. He saw their ships first, jagged silhouettes breaching the cloud layer, shimmering like quartz caught in a furnace. No engine roar, no warning lights, just the hiss of superheated air. As crystalline hulls kissed the atmosphere, they descended in a loose diamond formation, 23 ships in total. Hank's sniper brain automatically counted, categorized. Attack pattern, scouting run. The lead vessel pulsed faintly violet, its surface refracting the weak sunlight into prismatic shards. Scout leader. Benny's scream tore through the morning calm. Aliens, aliens, Celians. Hank was already moving. The camp erupted into chaos. Scouts spilled from cabins, some clutching half-laced boots, others brandishing frying pans like shields. Tommy stood frozen, a bag of flour exploding at his feet in a mushroom cloud of white. Formation Delta. Hank barked. The old battlefield cadence roughened his voice. Astronomy to the ridge, chemistry with me, move. To their credit, the boys obeyed. Years of drills, mock avalanches, bear attacks, midnight search and rescue simulations kicked in. Lily alone remained still, her face upturned, as the lead ship hovered low enough to scorch the pines. Hank grabbed her arm. "With me, now." She wrenched free. "I don't take orders from." A beam of amethyst light lanced down, vaporizing cabin 4. The concussion knocked them both flat. Hank's ears rang. Through the smoke, he saw the truth. These weren't ships, they were creatures. Living crystal, jointless and seamless, their forms shifting like liquid-stained glass. The lead Kryll unfolded itself, a towering monstrosity of faceted planes, each edge sharper than a scalpel. It emitted a sound like shattering chandeliers. Language, Hank realized, or what passed for it. The scouts stared, slack-jawed. Only Lily reacted. "They're burning the trees." She was right. The beam had ignited the surrounding pines. Smoke billowed, acrid and eye-watering. Hank's mind raced. Gem-based lifeforms, obsidian black cores pulsing in their chests. UV shielded, maybe, but the lead Kryll kept its faceted face tilted away from the rising sun. "Astronomy patrol," he roared. "Mirrors, full spread now." The boys scrambled. Solar reflectors, polished aluminum sheets meant for signaling rescuers, caught the dawn light. Beams lanced upward, chaotic at first, then converging as Hank directed. "Aim for the joints." The lead Kryll shrieked as concentrated sunlight found the fissures between its crystalline plates. Molten streaks bloomed across its body. It staggered, emitting a subharmonic wail that cracked boulders. Chemistry. Hank pivoted. "What eats minerals?" Blank stares. "Then acid," squeaked Raj Patel. "Vinegar stores. Mix with baking soda, now." The boys dove for the mess hall. Lily stayed, her hands clenched. "You're enjoying this," she hissed. Hank didn't deny it. The adrenaline was a live wire in his veins. Familiar and foul, He'd sworn he'd never feel it again. The Kryll regrouped. 3 ships detached, spewing smaller drones, jagged crystal shards that moved like hunting wasps. A drone impaled Carlos Ruiz through the thigh. The boy fell, screaming. Medic. Hank snapped. 2 scouts dragged Carlos behind the supply shed. Blood painted the snow in arterial arcs. Lily froze. He's alive. Hank gripped her shoulders. Get to the root cellar. Take Mr. Cuddles. The Badger? Now. She went. The battle turned. Kryll drones herded the scouts into tighter clusters. Hank's sniping instincts mapped. Kill shots he couldn't take. No rifle. Just vinegar bombs sputtering in the cold. A drone sliced his parka sleeve, drawing a line of fire across his bicep. Then the ground erupted. Mr. Cuddles, 12 pounds of muscle, fur and pure badger rage, exploded from a snowdrift, claws raking a drone's underbelly. Lily followed, hurling a honey jar. The drone veered, distracted. Light. Hank bellowed. A scout thrust a mirror. Sunlight plus honey equals sign a sticky, refracting nightmare. The drone combusted midair. The Kryll faltered. Their empress's voice boomed across the battlefield, all splintering ice and fury. Hank didn't need a translator. Retreat. As the ships ascended, a final drone lunged for Lily. Hank moved without thought. His body remembered the dance. Tackle, pivot, twist. The drone's blade grazed his ribs before he smashed it against a boulder. Silence. The scouts emerged, wide-eyed and trembling. Lily stared at the shards of crystalline flesh littering the camp. You're bleeding, she said. Hank pressed a mitten to his side. Scout's honor. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. Later, as they triaged wounds and doused fires, Benny found the core, obsidian black sphere, still humming, hidden in the lead Kryll's wreckage. Hank pocketed it. Let the kids have their victory. He knew better. War had found him again, and this time, it wasn't leaving. Chapter 2. The snows melted slowly, grudgingly, as if the mountain itself resented the thaw. What remained of Camp Howler clung to the slopes like a scavenged carcass. Charred cabin beams jutted from mud-slick earth, and the air smelled of vinegar and burnt honey. The scouts moved through the wreckage, with a grim efficiency Hank recognized from war zones. They'd stopped flinching at every snap twig, stopped jumping at the creak of wind-strained pines. Children shouldn't carry that stillness in their bones. The galactic internet, it turned out, had no concept of mercy. Footage of the battle, choppy, vertiginous clips shot on Benny's GoPro, spread faster than the Kryll's crystalline plague. By the third dawn, Earth's news feeds overflowed with memes. Scouts photoshopped into power armor. Mr. Cuddles crowned as Lord of the Hive. Hank's grizzled face, superimposed over ancient generals. Earth's deadliest young. The headlines screamed. Politicians drooled. Generals schemed. And the scouts? They huddled around a jury-rigged radio, listening as the world turned their trauma into a punchline. Lily stopped sleeping. Hank found her each night, perched on the armory shed's roof, staring at the stars, as if they'd personally betrayed her. She'd inherited his insomnia, his knack for silence. He'd leave a thermos of cocoa by the ladder, the marshmallows sinking like doomed astronauts, never touched. The UN delegation arrived in black SUVs sleek as hearses, their headlights carved through the mountain fog, painting the survivors in stark relief. Carlos's crutches, Raj's bandaged hands, Tommy's 1,000-yard stare. The diplomats wore tailored suits and pitying smiles. Hank's knuckles ached with the urge to rearrange both. Mr. Briggs, the lead delegate, extended a manicured hand. Your country is grateful. Hank lit a cigarette, letting the silence curdle. The man's smile didn't waver. We'd like you to consult on planetary defense. Train our troops in your unconventional tactics. Wind hissed through dead pines. Somewhere in the ruins, Mr. Cuddles growled at a ration tin. No, the delegate blinked. I assure you, compensation. You're not listening. Hank exhaled smoke, watching it coil like Kryll drone formations. These aren't soldiers, they're kids who got lucky. Luck? A woman stepped forward, her heels sinking into ash. You routed a Kryll battalion with vinegar. Hank's pulse throbbed in his scar. The desert sun rose unbidden. Private Alvarez's laughter as they shared contraband tequila, the way his skull had. You want a lesson? He ground the cigarette under his boot. War's not a merit badge. You earn it in blood and bad intel. These scouts, they're done. Lily's voice cut through the cold. Since when do you care? She stood at the tree line, her pink parka smeared with soot. The diplomat stiffened, sensing a weakness. Hank's jaw tightened. Scout leader Briggs. The woman pressed. The Kryll Empress has vowed retribution. Earth needs to stop gambling children. He turned away. Get off my mountain. They left, but the world kept spinning. Offers flooded Hank's burner phone. Talk shows, biopics, a themed ice cream flavor called Badger Rage. He smashed the phone under a rock. Let the pieces fossilize. The scouts tried to rebuild. Benny rigged solar chargers from reflector scraps. Raj distilled moonshine vinegar in the mess hall ruins. Lily shadowed Hank's every step, her silence a shiv between his ribs. She'd started wearing his old field knife, the blade longer than her forearm. At night the nightmares came, not of the Kryll, but the desert. Alvarez begging for a medic that wouldn't come. The heat, always the heat. Hank would wake choking on phantom sand. Lily's cot empty across the tent. He found her one dawn at the Kryll crash site, prying shards from the lead ship's carcass. Her gloves were too big, fingers trembling as she worked. They're not coming back, she said, not turning. Hank crouched beside her. The crystal shard in her hands pulsed faintly violet, same as the Empress's ship. Intel's for grown-ups. You're not a grown-up. You're a coward. The words hung between them, sharper than the shard. Lily stood, pockets sagging with crystal. Mom was right. You just want to watch things die. She left him there, knee-deep in snow and memory. The first assassination attempt came during supply run. Hank had led the older scouts downslope to Dawson's General, a rusted tin shack that sold bullets, band-aids, and bacon jerky in equal measure. Lily stayed behind. Another silent protest. The sky threatened sleet. The clouds bruised purple. Mr. Dawson's TV blared news of scout mania. A pop star in tactical gear warbled an auto-tuned anthem. Hank tuned it out, counting iodine tablets. Benny's scream tore through the canned goods aisle. The Kryll assassin stood framed in the doorway, its body a mosaic of jagged citrine. No ship. No drones, just 7 feet of sentient razor blade, stinking of ozone and intent. Hank moved. The survival knife left his belt before the first scout hit the floor. The blade struck the assassin's chest and shattered. Adapt. He lunged left, grabbing a sack of rock salt. The assassin slashed, cleaving shelves into kindling. Hank dove behind the meat freezer, brain cataloging exits, weapons, vulnerabilities. Out. He barked. The scouts fled, Benny dragging Tommy by his hood. The assassin pivoted, joints screeching. Hank hurled the salt. Granules seared its crystalline skin, pitting the surface like acid rain. It staggered. He struck with a steel mop handle, once, twice, aiming for the obsidian core, glowing beneath its ribs. The third blow connected. The core cracked. The assassin dissolved into glass dust. Mr. Dawson peered over the counter. Y'all gonna pay for that? Hank tossed him a blood-spattered 20. Keep the change. The mountain welcomed them back with a blizzard. Lily met them at the trailhead, her face a mask of frost and fury. They're targeting us. She gestured to the camp's new defenses. Vinegar moats, mirror tripwires. Because you played hero. Hank shouldered past her. Get the medkit. Or what? You'll bench me, Dad? The word detonated in the cold. He turned, slow as a glacier. You don't get to quit, she spat. You don't get to save me, and then check out. The scouts shuffled awkwardly, pretending to inventory supplies. Hank's ribs ached, where the assassin's claw had grazed him. Lily's breath fogged between them,
a ghost of the daughter he'd lost. "They're coming," he said finally. "Not because I'm a hero, because I'm a threat." Her laugh was bitter as windblown ash. "You're a washed-up sniper who got lucky. Maybe." He unzipped his parka, revealing the bandaged gash. "But I'm what they sent you." For a heartbeat, her mask slipped. Fear flickered, the child beneath the armor. Then she was gone, vanishing into the storm. The Empress's message arrived at moonrise. A Kryll probe pierced the mess hall roof, embedding itself in the stew pot. Inside, a hologram of crystalline earth, slowly dissolving into glittering dust. The Empress's voice vibrated through their teeth, a symphony of shattering glaciers. "Surrender the Starkiller, or burn with your vermin." The scouts stared at Hank. He stared at the obsidian core, glowing in his palm. "Benny's battlefield souvenir." "They want this?" Raj whispered. "No." Lily hugged her knees by the fire. "They want him." The core's hum synced with Hank's pulse. He remembered the lead Krill's death rattle, the way its light had dimmed like Alvarez's eyes. "You're still a soldier," the core seemed to whisper. "You'll always be a soldier." He slipped it into the fire. The flames turned violet, then black. "Pack up," he ordered. "We're moving camp." "Where?" Benny asked. Hank watched the stars through the roof's new skylight. "Somewhere even the light won't reach." They hiked through the night, following game trails. Even Mr. Cuddles distrusted. The new camp lay in a shale gulch, walls streaked with uranium ore that made the compass spin. Lily claimed the highest ledge, her sleeping bag rolled tight as a body shroud. Hank took first watch. The core's whisper followed him, a itch beneath his sternum. "You'll fail them, like you failed Alvarez, like you failed her." Dawn found him carving notches into a juniper stump, one for each scout, each near miss, each lie he'd told the UN. The numbers bled together. The second assassin came at noon. It rose from the shale like a geode given legs, amethyst facets blazing. Hank's knife was ready. The scouts were not. Chaos. Screams. A vinegar bomb detonated early, dousing Raj's legs. The assassin lunged for Lily, claws extended. Hank intercepted, taking the blow on his flank. The world dissolved into white heat. He woke to Mr. Cuddles licking his face. The assassin lay in pieces, shattered by their combined efforts. Mirrors focusing noonday sun, vinegar grenades, and one very provoked badger. Lily knelt beside him, pressing a charred bandage to his side. "Still not a hero," she muttered. Hank coughed blood. "Wouldn't dream of it." They stayed like that until the others returned from chasing the assassin's fragments. No one mentioned how tightly she gripped his hand. That night, the Galactic Council's envoy arrived unannounced, a floating orb of light that smelled of vanilla and ozone. "Hank Briggs," it intoned. "You are awarded the Galactic Medal of Honor." The scouts cheered. Hank spat blood into the fire. "Decline." The orb dimmed. "Additionally, your progeny have been granted unlimited frozen dairy confections." Benny whooped. Lily frowned. "Terms?" Hank asked. "Continue antagonizing the Kryll." The fire popped. Somewhere in the dark, Mr. Cuddles crunched crystal shards. "Get out," Hank said. The orb vanished. Lily raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you hate ice cream?" He prodded his stitches, bribes rot teeth. Her smirk was almost a smile. Almost. The Empress's armada breached orbit at 0300 hours. Hank watched the sky bleed warships through his sniper scope. This time, the scouts didn't panic. They checked mirrors, mixed vinegar, and waited. Lily took the ledge beside him. "Plan?" He offered the scope. "Same as always. Adapt, improvise, protect, die trying," he added. She shouldered her slingshot, a fork of juniper wood, rubber bands from Benny's underwear. "Not today." The first bombs fell as dawn kissed the peaks. Hank's last thought, before the world dissolved into prismatic hellfire, was that Lily's eyes held no fear, only fire. And fire, he knew, could melt even diamonds.
Chapter 3. The Arctic wind howled through the skeletal remains of Camp Howler, carrying with it the ashes of burnt merit badges and the acrid sting of defeat. Hank Briggs stood in the shadow of the armory shed, its door hanging askew like a broken jaw, and watched the last UN transport vanish into the steel-wool sky. The politicians had stripped the camp bare, confiscated solar mirrors, dismantled vinegar stills, even taken the damn coffee percolator. All that remained was the stink of betrayal and 4 loyal scouts huddled around a sputtering fire, their breath frosting the air in ragged unison. Lily sat apart, sharpening her field knife against a shale rock. The rhythmic scritch-scritch of blade on stone was the only sound she'd offered in days. Hank knew that silence, it was the same one he'd worn after the desert, after Alvarez, after the divorce, a armor forged in the smithy of shame. Benny Wu, his asthma muffled by a scavenged krill scarf, nudged a charred log with his boot. They took the emergency rations, they took everything, Raj Patel muttered, his bandaged hands cradling an empty vinegar grenade. Tommy Chen said nothing. He hadn't spoken since the second assassination attempt, when a krill shard had grazed his temple and left his left eye milky as a corpse's. Hank's ribs throbbed where the assassin's claw had torn through flesh. The wound festered, a hot poker of pain with every breath, but he'd stopped changing the bandages. Let it rot, let it remind him. The mountain had turned against them. Frostbite gnawed at exposed skin. Game trails lay buried under snowdrifts, deeper than graves. Even Mr. Cuddles had grown gaunt, his fur matted with ice, his once ferocious eyes dull with hunger. The badger nosed through the camp's ruins, pausing to hiss at the sky where krill drones now patrolled like vultures. They're hurting us, Hank realized, letting winter do their work. He crouched by the fire, the obsidian core, Benny's battlefield souvenir, a lead weight in his parka pocket. It hummed against his chest, a tuneless dirge that synced with his pulse. You failed them, it seemed to whisper, just like Alvarez. Lily's knife stilled. We're going to die here. The scouts flinched. Hank didn't, probably. She stood, knife glinting in the firelight. Then I'm taking a few krill with me. With what? Raj gestured to the stripped camp. Vinegar? Prayers? Mr. Cuddles growled. The sound rolled through the camp, low and tectonic. All eyes turned to the badger. He pawed at the snow, revealing a scrap of metallic cloth, Benny's old GoPro strap, chewed and slobbered. Then he lunged northward, vanishing into the blizzard. Lily followed without a word. Wait, Benny scrambled up. Where's he going? To survive, Hank said, the core's hum crescendoing. Stay or follow, your call. The scouts exchanged glances. Tommy stood first, his milky eye reflecting the fire's dying embers. They trekked through the whiteout, Mr. Cuddles, a shadow flickering at the edge of vision. The badger led them down scree slopes and across glacial crevasses, his trail marked by the occasional honey-smeared rock. Hank's lungs burned, his wound wept warm ichor down his side. Lily walked ahead, never looking back. Dawn found them at the mouth of a uranium mine, its entrance yawning like a rotten tooth. Radiation warnings, faded and peppered with bullet holes, clung to the chain-link fence. Beyond, the earth sloped downward into a labyrinth of tunnels lit by the sickly green glow of krill glyphs. They're strip mining the core, Raj whispered. Hank nodded. The obsidian core in his pocket vibrated, a lodestone drawn to its kin. Lily crouched beside Mr. Cuddles, scratching the badger's frost-rimed ears. This your plan? Digging graves? The badger chittered and vanished into the mine. They followed, the tunnels closing around them like a throat. The air thickened with the stench of molten rock and something sweetly organic, krill waste. The scouts moved in silence, their makeshift weapons, shivs of rebar, slingshots, armed with uranium pebbles, trembling in numb hands. Deep in the belly of the mine, they found the hive. Krill drones scuttled across cavern walls, their crystalline bodies, refracting the green glyph light into malignant rainbows. Below, a chasm pulsed with obsidian cores, thousands of them, stacked like eggs in a nest. Conveyor belts ferried mined uranium into smelters, where juvenile krill took shape, their facets forming in the radioactive glow. Tommy made a sound, half whimper, half laugh. Then he gagged into his scarf. Hank's sniper mind calculated angles, weaknesses, the smelters, the conveyors, the cores, vinegar. He rasped, on the belts, corrode the tracks. Raj shook his head. We have 2 bottles left. Then make it count. Lily stepped forward. Distraction. Hank hesitated. The core's hum became a scream. No, you don't get to bench me. She unslung her slingshot. Not anymore. Their eyes met, hazel and steel, mirrored stubbornness. Hank saw the ghost of his ex-wife in her clenched jaw, the shadow of Alvarez, in her squared shoulders. East Tunnel, he relented. 3 minutes. She nodded, and melted into the dark. That the chaos began with a scream, not human, Kryll, high-pitched and glassy. It echoed through the cavern as Lily's uranium pebble shattered a drone's core. The hive erupted. Drones swarmed toward the sound, faceted claws screeching against stone. Now, Hank and the scouts slithered down to the smelter level. The heat was a living thing, clawing at their exposed skin. Benny vomited silently. Raj uncorked the vinegar, hands steady as a surgeon's. There, Hank pointed to the main conveyor joint. They doused the gears, the acid eating through metal with a hiss. The belt groaned, shuddered, and snapped. Uranium ore cascaded into the chasm, crushing cores beneath radioactive weight. A drone spotted them. Hank tackled Tommy as a crystalline claw speared the air where the boy's head had been. Run! They fled through the smelter's glow, drones in pursuit. Mr. Cuddles shot past, a furry missile, and latched onto a drone's underbelly. The badger's claws found fissures, peeling crystal plates like onion skin. Hank, Lily's voice, distant. He turned in time to see the net, a web of liquid crystal, ensnare her. Kryll drones hauled her toward a pulsating transport pod, her slingshot clattering to the floor. No, he ran, ignored the fire in his side, ignored the drones closing in. Let her go. The lead drone tilted its faceted head. A familiar voice emerged, splintered and cold. The Kryll Empress, Starkiller, you will kneel. Hank froze. The core in his pocket seared his flesh. Take me instead. The drones paused. The Empress's laughter was a glacier calving. A trade. Yes, Dad. Lily's cry cut off as the net tightened. Hank stepped forward, arms raised. Let her go. I'm the one you want. The drones swarmed him. Crystalline bonds cinched his wrists, his ankles. The last thing he saw was Lily's face, fear and fury, and something raw beneath, before the transport pod sealed shut. Adapt, he thought, as the pod launched into the stratosphere. Improvise, protect. The Arctic HQ was a cathedral of ice and agony. They imprisoned Hank in a UV-shielded cell, the walls etched with Kryll scripture that pulsed like a heartbeat. The Empress herself came to gloat, her crystalline form towering and prismatic. Your human vermin will burn, she hissed, her voice carving frost patterns in the air. But you will watch. Hank said nothing. He counted the seconds, calculated the angle of sunlight through the ice ceiling, remembered Lily's eyes, the obsidian core, hidden in his boot, hummed in harmony with the HQ's reactors. 6 hours, he'd told her. Sunrise. He prayed she'd listened. Above ground, the scouts went viral. Lily filmed their plea on Benny's cracked GoPro, her face smudged with soot. Mr. Cuddles snarling at her side. They took my dad. They'll take everything. Fight or freeze. Your choice. The video spread through the galactic net like wildfire. Children in Tokyo built UV cannons from soda cans and makeup mirrors. Teens in Nairobi launched vinegar drones. A kindergarten class in Quebec mailed Mr. Cuddles a honey-smeared crown. By midnight, Earth's orbit bristled with improvised warships. School buses welded to solar panels, dumpsters rigged with vinegar tanks. The Kryll Armada hesitated, their Empress's orders drowned in a cacophony of human defiance. Lily stood at the helm of a stolen icebreaker, the scouts at her back. Time. Benny checked his watch. Sunrise in 10. She gripped her slingshot, the uranium pebble glowing faintly. Let's go get our idiot. About Hank felt the detonations through the ice. The HQ shuddered,
glyphs flickering, distant screams, human and Kryll, echoed through the vents. That's my girl. He palmed the obsidian core, its edges biting into flesh. The Empress's shield generator hummed above his cell, a masterpiece of crystalline engineering, and hopelessly flammable. He smashed the core against the wall. It erupted in a vortex of violet flame, eating through the ice, the shields, the lies. The last thing he saw before the roof caved in was the dawn, golden and furious, spearing through the storm. Adapt, he thought, and smiled. Chapter 4. The Arctic dawn arrived not with light, but with sound, a deep tectonic groan, as the Kryll headquarters fissured beneath the ice. Hank Briggs lay half-buried in snowdrifts, his breath ragged, watching plumes of crystalline dust spiral into a sky stained violet by dying reactors. Somewhere in the maelstrom, Mr. Cuddles snarled, a primal counterpoint to the Empress's wails. The badger had chewed through 3 drone restraints to reach him, his fur matted with frost and Kryll ichor. Survival, Hank thought, wasn't a merit badge, it was teeth and spite. Lily found him propped against a shard of collapsed ice wall, her pink parka torn, her cheeks raw from cold and fury. She didn't speak, didn't need to. Her eyes, his eyes, scanned his wounds with clinical precision, the frost-bitten fingers, the reopened gash at his ribs, the way his left leg bent all wrong. Still alive, he rasped. She tossed him a vinegar grenade. Not for long. The scouts regrouped at the icebreaker's wreckage, their breaths sinking in shallow clouds. Benny Wu clutched a Kryll core like a holy relic, its obsidian sheet reflecting the northern lights gone rogue. Raj Patel jury-rigged a UV lamp from the ship's dashboard, fingers trembling. Tommy Chen, silent as ever, traced glyphs in the snow with his boot, ancient scout knots, or maybe a eulogy. The Empress rose from the ruins, her crystalline form cracked but unbroken. Prismatic light bled from her fissures, painting the ice in fever dream hues. Insects, she hissed, her voice a glacier's scream. You gnaw at gods. Hank limped forward, the vinegar grenade heavy in his grip. Gods don't bleed. The final assault was less a battle than a fever dream. Kryll reinforcements descended in shrieking waves, their drones refracting the aurora into laser hailstorms. The scouts fought with the desperate ingenuity of children who'd memorized death. Benny's solar reflectors harnessed the Arctic's endless dawn, focusing light into searing lances. Raj's vinegar bombs bloomed in acidic geysers, melting crystalline armor to slurry. Tommy, half-blind, navigated the chaos by sound alone, his slingshot finding fissures in drone cores with eerie precision. And Mr. Cuddles, the badger, became a myth in real time. He tunneled beneath the ice, erupting beneath drones to claw at their underbellies, a honey-smeared vengeance. Viral feeds, streamed via Benny's patched GoPro, dubbed him Lord of the Frozen Hive, his snarls soundtracked by a Finnish death metal band. Lily fought at Hank's flank, her slingshot singing. Left, she barked, and he pivoted, crushing a drone with a uranium ore chunk. No words beyond tactics, no need. The Empress cornered them at the icebreaker's prow. Starkiller, she thundered, her form swelling with stolen uranium. You die first. Hank shoved Lily aside, as the Empress struck. Crystalline claws sheared through his parka, drawing a line of fire across his chest. He fell, blood steaming in the cold, and smiled. Sunrise, he coughed. The Empress froze. Above, the scouts' UV lamps, powered by the icebreaker's gutted engine, flared to life, their beams amplified by a million snowflakes. The Arctic itself became a prism. Adapt, Lily whispered. The Empress's scream was pure light. They found her core in the meltwater, a obsidian sphere veined with gold, still humming. Lily raised her slingshot. Wait. Hank gripped her arm. Not yet. She stared at him, the core's reflection fracturing in her eyes. Why? He had no answer, only the weight of the dead. Alvarez's laughter, his ex-wife's tears, the 1,000 small failures etched into his bones. Because, he said finally, Some wars end when you stop fighting. She lowered the slingshot. The core's hum softened, a lullaby for fallen gods. The Galactic Council's envoy arrived in a blizzard of confetti and bad puns. They held the ceremony at what remained of Camp Howler, now a shrine of melted permafrost and krill shards. The Medal of Honor, a hunk of polished obsidian, hung heavy around Hank's neck. Lily smirked at the free ice cream for life decree, her breath frosting the words. A meme, the envoy explained, as if humanity's survival hinged on lactose. Mr. Cuddles received his own medal, which he promptly buried. That night, Hank sat by the rebuilt fire, picking marshmallows from his cocoa. Lily joined him, her survival badge gleaming on her sleeve, a compass rose forged from krill crystal. You stayed, she said. He nodded. The stars burned cold and clean, untainted by war. Somewhere, a badger growled. Years later, the new Camp Howler stood where the icebreaker sank, its cabins solar-powered, its walls papered with memes of a snarling badger. Lily Briggs Erickson, survival merit badge instructor, watched her students stalk an imaginary krill through the pines. Her daughter, a storm of black curls and hazel eyes, tugged her sleeve. Grandpa says you fought space rocks. Lily smiled. He's a terrible liar. On the ridge above, Hank Briggs adjusted his binoculars, tracking a familiar pink parka through the trees. His legs still ached in the cold, his coffee still sucked, and the mountain, eternal and indifferent, watched over them all.